If you're a golfer, you definitely know this feeling. You're standing over the ball, the swing feels good, maybe even perfect, but the impact is just all over the place.
One shot is a nice draw, the next is a weak slice.
Exactly. And we almost always blame our technique, right? We think, oh, I need more range time, or maybe I need another lesson.
And, that blame is so often misdirected. What if that inconsistency you're feeling isn't really a flaw in your swing, but it's you fighting your own equipment?
A fight with the club itself.
Yes. If the club is poorly balanced for you, too heavy, too light for how you move, your body will instinctively try to compensate. And that's where you get those frustrating, inconsistent strikes.
That brings us right to the mission for this deep dive. We are going to shine a light on one of the most misunderstood topics in golf, club weighting, and specifically swing weight.
It's a big one.
Our goal today is pretty simple. We don't want to bury you in a bunch of theory. We want to give you a clear, practical understanding of how your club's balance really influences how well you strike the ball.
And we have to start with the big paradox, the thing that confuses almost everyone. Swing weight does not measure how much the club weighs in total.
Right. Not its total mass.
It measures how that mass is distributed along the shaft. If you can get your head around that one distinction, you're already ahead of, I'd say, 90% of golfers out there.
Okay, so let's unpack that. If it's not about the number on a scale, what actually is it? How is this measurement taken?
Swing weight is basically a measure of rotational balance. It's expressed using a system called the Lorythmic system. To get the number, the club gets placed on this special scale that works just like a seesaw or a lever.
Okay, so it's all about a pivot point, a fulcrum.
Exactly. And the whole definition of the system is based on where that fulcrum is set. It's fixed at a very specific spot.
And where is that?
It's precisely 14 inches from the butt end of the grip. The scale then balances the club against a fixed counterweight on the other side.
So the final number, the D2 or C8 or whatever, that comes from how you get it to balance.
You've got it. The measurement is derived from how much weight you need to add to the club head side of that scale to get it to balance perfectly against the counterweight.
So if the club head end is already heavy, it needs less added weight to balance out.
That's it, exactly. The result is expressed as a letter and a number. It runs from A0, which feels incredibly light in your hands, all the way up to something like G0, which would feel extremely heavy.
So a higher letter and number, like D4 is higher than C8, that means more weight is felt out toward the club head.
Relative to that 14-inch fulcrum, yes, it's a very specific index of balance.
I know this is a huge debate among club builders. I mean, some still swear by swing weight as the only way to match a set of clubs. Others argue it's totally outdated.
Oh, it's fiercely debated. You'll hear serious fitters talk about alternatives like MOI matching.
A moment of inertia.
Right. And MOI matching tries to make the effort required to swing every club in the set feel consistent, not just the static balance on a scale. There's also total weight matching, balance point matching.
That sounds incredibly precise.
It is. And, our sources say any of these systems can work really well, but only if they're applied consistently and explained to the golfer. If there's no clear alternative being used, then that traditional logarithmic swing weight scale, it's still the industry language. It's the standard.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's get back to that critical distinction you mentioned, the one that trips everyone up. Swing weight versus total weight.
Right. This is the key.
Can you walk us through a scenario? Two clubs, same swing weight, but they feel totally different.
Sure. So intuitively, we all assume a heavier club will feel more head heavy, right? So it should have a higher swing weight. But that's just not true. You can have two clubs, both measure, let's say, D2 on the scale.
Okay, identical swing weight.
But one club might have a total weight of 400 grams, and the other could be 450 grams.
Wow, a 50-gram difference is huge in a golf club.
Massive. And they would feel completely different to swing. The 450-gram club would feel overwhelmingly heavy, even though its balance point, that D2 reading, is technically the same as the lighter club.
And that's why a professional fitting has to look at both things separately.
Exactly. The fitter has two jobs. First, find the right total weight for your strength and your swing speed. That's just about mass. Second, they have to find the right swing weight, the right distribution, to match your kinematic sequencing.
Kinematic sequencing. That sounds complicated. But I'm guessing it's really just about the timing of the swing.
Essentially, yes. It's the order in which your body fires hips, torso, arms, hands. The club's balance has to match the timing of your hands and arms. If that distribution is off, the timing feels wrong, and you struggle to deliver the club face squarely.
That brings us to how you actually change it. This is where the physics gets really interesting because every little component change has a quantifiable effect.
It's all about leverage, and the leverage is dramatic. There are these super specific ratios for how much weight you need to move to change the swing weight by even 1 point.
Okay, let's talk about the fastest way to do it. Where do you get the most bang for your buck on the swing weight scale?
The clubhead, no question. It's the furthest point from that 14-inch fulcrum. Every 2 grams you add to the head equals a gain of 1 full swing weight point.
2 grams for 1 point. That's incredible.
It is. I mean, think about it. Just a little 4-gram piece of lead tape can shift your club from D0 to D2. It's that sensitive.
Which really illustrates that lever principle. The closer a weight change is to my hands or behind the fulcrum, the less impact it must have.
Exactly. It's like trying to move a seesaw by pushing right next to the pivot. You have to move a lot more mass closer in. For instance, you need a 7-gram change in shaft weight to get that same 1 swing weight point change.
And the grip is entirely behind the fulcrum, so it's even less efficient for changing the feel, right?
Much less. You need to change the grip weight by 4 to 5 grams to equal just 1 swing weight point. So if you put on a much heavier grip, you'll drop the swing weight significantly, but you're using 4 or 5 times the mass to do it compared to just adding a little weight to the head.
The components make sense. But I think the biggest surprise for most people is how much the club's overall length affects the balance.
It has a colossal effect. Because that fulcrum is fixed at 14 inches, when you make the club longer, you're extending the lever on the club head side of the scale.
So the head effectively gets heavier on the scale.
Right. Every half inch you add to the length equals about 3 swing weight points of change. If you just lengthen your driver by half an inch, it can jump from D2 to D5 without you changing anything else.
And our sources even said that tiny things like lie angle can shift the needle.
That's right. If you make a club 3 degrees flatter, that actually adds about 1 swing weight point because it shifts the mass distribution just a tiny bit. Making it 3 degrees more upright does the opposite. It takes away a point.
The big takeaway here is that the club is a complete system. You can't just chase one number, like adding lead tape to hit D2, because you're throwing off the total weight and everything else. It often just leads to worse results.
Absolutely. You can't fix one thing in isolation.
Yeah. So let's pivot to the feel. How does this static measurement on a scale translate into what a player actually feels during the swing?
It influences 2 really critical things. First, a club with a higher swing weight is going to feel much heavier at the top of your backswing. Right at that moment of transition, that's when you get the most feedback on where the weight is.
Okay, and the second one is the one I find fascinating, the impact on how the shaft feels.
This is a huge aha moment for a lot of golfers. A higher swing weight, so more weight toward the head, paradoxically makes the shaft feel more flexible. It feels whippier.
So wait, if I put a heavy head on a shaft, the shaft I thought was stiff might suddenly feel like a regular flex?
Precisely. And the opposite is true. A lower swing weight, which means more weight is shifted toward your hands, makes the club feel lighter and the shaft feel stiffer.
That completely changes how you troubleshoot a club.
It does. If a golfer says their shaft feels too whippy, their first thought is to get a stiffer shaft. But the sources suggest maybe they should first try lowering the swing weight, maybe by adding a few grams under the grip.
So what kinds of players tend to prefer which kind of balance?
Well, aggressive players, or players who are very hand dominant, they often prefer higher swing weights. That extra mass out at the head helps them feel where the club is and time their release.
It gives them more control over that hand action.
Exactly.
And what about the rest of us? Recreational players, newer golfers who are just trying to get some speed.
Lighter swing weights tend to be better there. They just require less overall effort to accelerate. And that can translate directly into more clubhead speed, especially for players who have slower tempos.
Okay, before we bust the biggest myth in all of this, let's quickly go over the generally recommended swing weight ranges, just to give people a baseline.
Sure. The recommendations usually correlate with shaft stiffness. For a ladies or L flex, you're typically looking at C4 to D0. For a regular or R flex, it's a bit heavier, maybe C8 up to D4.
And for the strongest players?
For players using an extra spiff or X flex, you're generally in the D2 to D8 range. Those are kind of the zones where the mass and the flex tend to work well together.
Okay, now for the elephant in the golf bag. The myth of the standard swing weight, specifically D0. Most off-the-rack sets are built to be around D0 or D1, so people just assume that's the ideal number for every club.
And that assumption causes so many fitting problems today. You see, those D0 standards were created decades ago when club lengths were much, much more uniform. The second you start changing the length of a club, that standard just completely falls apart.
We just said a half inch of length changes the swing weight by 3 points. So if the industry standard is D0, why have club lengths gotten so much longer without that baseline changing?
It really just highlights the limitation of using a fixed, static measurement in a sport that's always evolving. Let's use the 5-iron example from the sources. The traditional 5-iron length was 37.5 inches. A club maker could build that club to D0, and it would fit the standard perfectly.
But today, a fitter might determine a golfer needs a longer club, say 38 inches. If they build it with the exact same components, same grip, shaft, head, what happens to the swing weight?
Because of that leverage principle we talked about, that club instantly measures D3 on the scale. Same parts, but it's 3 points heavier just because it's longer.
So if the club maker, or the golfer, insists on hitting that D0 standard, how do they get that D3 club back down?
They have to either remove weight from the club head or, more likely, install a much heavier grip to counterbalance it. And when they do that, the total weight and balance of the club change completely. It no longer feels anything like the original 37.5-inch D0 club, even though the number on the scale says D0.
This is why modern club fitting has to look at the whole system.
Yes, they have to consider length, total weight, the actual physical balance point, the shaft's dynamics, and, most importantly, how the player moves.
To really drive this point home, we have a case study that fitters use to kind of shock people into understanding that D numbers don't equal weight. It's a comparison between two 5-irons.
It is, and for anyone listening, this really is a shocker. These numbers just crystallize the whole concept.
Okay, so let's set the stage. First, we have a benchmark 5-iron, a standard sort of heavier club designed to hit that D0 mark.
Right. Our reference club, the original 5-iron, is 37.5 inches long. Its total weight is 435 grams, and it measures exactly D0's swing weight. That's our baseline.
Now let's look at a modern club, a specific Wilson Deep Red 5-iron. This one was built a little longer, at 38 inches. Its base total weight was 393 grams, but the fitter added 6 grams of weight to the head to increase the feel. So its final total weight is 399 grams, and its swing weight measured a hefty D4.
So you've got the original, 435 grams at D0, and the modified club, 399 grams at D4. So which club is actually heavier?
The D0 club is heavier, significantly heavier by 36 grams than the D4 club. It's the perfect illustration. D4 feels more head-heavy, but D0 is the club that actually weighs more. Swing weight is balance, not mass.
And this is why if you're working with a club maker who decides the logarithmic scale isn't the main goal, they absolutely have to commit to a different system. MOI matching, total weight matching, something. Inconsistency is the real enemy here.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? The knowledge here should really change how you look at your golf bag. First, remember, swing weight measures distribution balance, not total weight. And that D0 standard is basically a myth in modern fitting.
The moment you change one thing, especially length, everything else changes with it.
And finally, here's a provocative thought for you to take to the range. We said a higher swing weight makes a shaft feel more flexible, and a lower one makes it feel stiffer.
So how certain are you that the stiffness printed on your shaft is what you're actually feeling when you swing?
The feel of your shaft is so heavily influenced by how the entire club is balanced, not just the shaft's rating. Maybe you don't need a stiffer shaft after all. Maybe you just need a lower swing weight. That's something to think about next time you're blaming your swing.